Hello and welcome back to another week of DXV Rugby with Nye, Chris and Ollie. Week 2, Season 2. What did we get up to the weekend, guys?
What didn't we get up to the weekend, boys?
I stressed about our new fancy rugby game. That's pretty much what I did all weekend.
Friday was mental. All the random little issues that hopefully none of you noticed, but I'm sure you all did. Just in the background trying to go around and fix little niggles here and there, or what seemed like the end of the world. But I think it all went off without too much of a hitch, boys. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it did what we wanted it to
works.
do. Yeah.
It does the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I speaking as someone who doesn't play fantasy, I actually really enjoyed it. And it's not just because I helped to create it. I don't know how much I don't know how much I helped to create it, but I genuinely found it really easy to use, and it was pretty good fun. Like, we all went to the Gloucester game, and being able to just whack out phones, kind of throughout the game, and see how the guys, the players were getting on the pitch as it kind of all unfolded in front of you, and have a bit of banter at the same time was actually really good fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
It's kind of, I think it's really weird because sort of before you were just playing on like a Six Nations app or whatever, but because you're you're not really massively invested. It's not like your app. It's not like your business. It's not your everything that you've done. You just sort of play it. So I found myself this weekend sort of probably worrying less about my fancy team and the points, and more if the actual game was working.
Yeah,
which was weird, which I'm hoping will absolutely sort of dissipate into the background. And by the time we're 4 or 5 games in, I'm actually caring a hell of a lot more around my team, my selection, my points, and sort of selection, and less about, I suppose, the app and the game. So yeah, that was sort of weird for the first time playing fantasy, and maybe not being so bothered about my players and more points, and more bothered about the game actually working and people playing it and enjoying it, really.
Yeah, just random bits of emails coming in and questions and things like that. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun, right? I'm not complaining, but it's tough sometimes.
And we do appreciate it. Everyone that's actually emailed in and sort of asked the question. It really helps us, because it's kind of the difference between, maybe we haven't made that clear enough to people, or maybe we haven't told people about this, or and we've played fancy rugby for quite a while, so some things we find quite intuitive, and we know what they are, but maybe some of the new people that haven't played fancy before, maybe we sort of need to look at it. So we really do appreciate anybody coming back in the emails, highlighting, asking any questions, highlighting any issues with the game. It is the first time it's been properly run out as it is now, but yeah, we're sort of, as stuff's coming in, it's only really minor quick fixes that we're managing to turn around for sort of the next game and the next bit of play. So yeah, it's been a really good start.
Yeah,
really good start,
and genuinely loads of improvements as well. We've had a couple of emails in, with people suggesting improvements here and there and all that sort of stuff, and that's kind of what we're aiming for, and you guys are aiming for, I think, as well, right? Is sort of building throughout the season, and then looking further out into the off season, but really trying to take all of the points that people have and actually put them into action and make it a game, for the fans, by the fans, sort of thing. It's kind of what you've built it on, which is good.
The idea was always that it should be fan-led. It should be so Nye and I only did it because we enjoy fantasy rugby, right? So most of it comes from within our head. But the more that we can get, God help us all, the more that we can get more people involved, the better the game will become. So don't feel like you're being mean if you're sending us stuff about things you think could be improvements on it. It's actually really useful, because we can iterate and become better. And some of it will take, some of it we won't, but we'll listen to all of it. And ultimately, the game will be substantially better round to round.
Yeah.
And I think some of the stuff, this was never our sort of finished product. This was never, all singing, all dancing, bells and whistles, and sort of there's loads of ideas that we've had from the sort of beginning and from the outset of sort of creating this that just weren't feasible at this very beginning, weren't feasible because of the sort of cost for it to sort of bring in and generate. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to get loads of people on. Hopefully people are in the same sort of mindset as us, is that this will get better and it will sort of evolve into what people want it to be. So yeah, it's been a good start and I'm looking forward to cracking on with it.
Yeah. And you definitely helped build it, Ollie. Don't be so mean to yourself, mate. You definitely helped lots. We wouldn't be here without you, mate.
Oh, I don't know, mate. I don't know about that.
No, Jen, like
I think a good like maybe a good sounding board at the side, or someone to use as a bit of a guinea pig who doesn't play, fantasy and all that sort of stuff. But no, I'm genuinely, yeah, like I'll echo Nia's points, and I'm genuinely looking forward to kind of, if we're lucky enough to kind of make it through this season with everyone's support, then we kind of build next season and look at improving the game here, there, and everywhere. And I'm kind of quite looking forward to that process of adding bits that we're not in a position to be able to add at the moment, and looking out to sort of next season and beyond. Yeah, it's exciting. But we touched on it already, guys. We went to Gloucester, didn't we, at weekend?
We did, indeed. First trip to Kingsholm.
Watched Gloucester Saracens. That was a cracking game. We even had the pleasure of walking past Toby Faletau at the end. And I wanted a cheeky photo, but didn't have the guts to go over and ask, did you?
I'm pretty sure it was Chalupe that wanted a photo with me. I'm not sure we quite got that. Yeah, like
fanboying at the end of the game.
two Welsh internationals just like nod of respect as we walk past each other. It was nice. I don't know. I tried to speak to Thomas in Welsh as well. That went down pretty well.
He did actually. In fairness, mate, he did acknowledge you. He laughed at you as you walked past. I don't know if it was like a friendly laugh or maybe that means nice things in Wales.
Yeah, it's like your first game playing for Gloucester, and I just some like random Welsh bloke screaming at you in Welsh at the end of the game. You probably didn't expect it, but yeah. Thomas, if you're listening in, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, atmosphere at Gloucester was good. Not the result the home fans wanted. Lots of chat about kind of coaching setups and all that in the crowd as you were walking around. They do sell beer in 2 pints, which was a massive win for me.
Yeah, you found that out pretty quickly, didn't you, mate?
I was very excited.
No, and I were both driving, so yeah, we had a bit of a not
drive trip.
Yeah. But no, it was a cracking game actually, and some really promising like Gloucester players as well. His name escaped me, Chris, but was it number 3 for Gloucester?
That's a good one, yeah. That's a good one.
Had a pretty good game. But I thought Sarries just played so well.
Tom Willis, mate.
Yeah,
Tom Willis. Thank God I had him in my fantasy team. Yeah, you jammy back.
Our captain brought me home like 116 points or something. I'd have to have a double check at that actually, but no, he had a cracking game. Did some seriously good stuff. I actually watched back the highlights yesterday when I was feeling sorry for myself on a Sunday before starting the week, and it's always weird kind of like rewatching the highlights, right, when you go and actually watch a game and then you kind of see the bits that you weren't able to see because it was over the other side of the pitch and all that sort of stuff. But no, it was a good game.
It was just like Friday night, and just kind of, it was the first time, so like glued to my laptop, like Chris glued to his. You can see him, he's basically got the Teams call with me on, but then he's got like the 2 games of rugby on the screens, like left and right, and you can just see this head on, like as he's flicking between the 2 games going on. It was good to see sort of like Prem rugby back. It was good to see some sort of new clubs, and again people are going about sort of Tigers and coaching, and you sort of mentioned it there, so it was nice to see some new faces in the Prem, people getting their sort of first starts. It was nice to see clubs coming out with maybe a different style of play, different set of sort of coaching than you're used to seeing them. And Yeah, and if you're expecting the best rugby of the Premiership in the first weekend, you're mental.
It was a bit scrappy, but it was always going to be a bit scrappy.
Yeah.
Like a little bit. Weather wasn't great. I mean, Gloucester was glorious for weather, but like the Sale Harlequins game, for example, weather was terrible.
Yeah.
Players are
it's never
rusty.
going to be the best rugby you're going to see all year. People are still finding each other out. People are still finding sort of your teams in the first big sort of competitive games. But yeah, I don't think it was that bad. I mean, it was just like loads of bants on the table. Because again, it's kind of everyone's like, "Way, Falcons at bottom, way!"
Yeah.
and just like reignites instantly all of like the Premiership like rivalry. Do you know what I mean? And it's good to see all of that sort of chit chatter back online. Fans having a sort of taking the mickey out of each other. It's good to see all that come back with it as well.
Yeah. And yeah, we've touched on it already, but obviously the first kind of weekend for our game going like properly live post kind of beta and all the stuff that we did over summer. Any standout performers for you guys? Like, who did you have in your team that did particularly well?
So Willis is my #1 performer, and I think he was just shy of second. Like I think he was second performer overall behind Maylands.
Yeah.
Put in an absolute shift. I was really happy with Fisselau as well. Cheeky try in the corner.
I'm gutted I didn't pick him for my team. Actually, I was flapping about it on Friday because we had kind of like a meeting, didn't we? And we were sort of like trying to get stuff out as quickly as we could. And I subsequently almost missed the deadline that we set for getting the team sheets in. So I was like trying desperately to come up with a team. And yeah, I picked Don Brandt instead of Fisselau, which kicking myself now about, but yeah, he didn't have too bad a game actually.
Yeah, Fist got him with a try, and you think it's just that you could be having a sort of average game, but actually just that one try just sort of brings you up to a good enough score. I was unfortunate enough to have Kata in my team, so that red card, first red card of the season, that hit his fantasy points.
Yeah,
that wasn't great for me, but I didn't do too bad. Roebuck, Cockasinger brought it sort of back. Ibatoye, I captained him. I mean, there were better choices out there, but I still got some decent sort of points from him. Yeah,
You know, I'm gutted I didn't pick Max Maylands.
Yeah.
Absolute monstrous score. Would have given you 122 something points. The old captain. So I worked it all out, and I think with every as of 7 o'clock last night, because sometimes the data will adjust in the after hours, whatever, as they recall everything or they check everything. Yeah. But as of last night, the total points you could have won if you picked the top team would have been 718, just over. And Maylands would have contributed alone 122 of those if you captained him. Like that's.
I'll tell you, this is the second highest scorer in my team was my super sub.
Oh, who'd you pick?
Guy Pepper.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Guy Pepper. And I was like, I saw him on, and I know a couple of people on like super sub because he wasn't that expensive. Plus, I sort of knew that they'd be keen to get him on. I know a couple of people. There were some good names on the bench across the sort of Rafael did well. You had Marcus Smith, people like that on the bench. That, but yeah, I went Guy Pepper and ended up with some triple points. So sort of he was up there in sort of mid high 50s. So he did really well for me actually. Saved me well.
Guy Pepper's a really good shout as well because he hasn't really played that much for Bath, so he hasn't played at all for Bath. That was his first start for Bath. He came over from Newcastle last season, didn't he? So underrated, being in a losing team throughout the season. Be interesting to see what happens to his price as the season goes on.
Yeah.
I expect you'll see him go.
Yeah.
Which will be interesting to watch.
Yeah. Pricing matrix. Nice.
I learned the hard way of not selecting a super sub last week, so I think I'll definitely get one in this coming week. But I just
it's a gamble, right?
Yeah,
it's
I just don't need to drop. That's the problem. In fact, Ibitoye did quite well for me as well. But yeah, like I had my hopes up at one point because I was doing really, really well. I was ahead of both of you two, and swiftly realised that I had about 2 players left ahead of the Sale game, and I think you guys had like 6 apiece. So I was sort of like, yeah, I'm not going to beat you guys. But yeah, came 45th for, I think 45th.
I mean, that's
Not
top,
bad, middle of the
top
table.
half. Top
Yeah,
half.
it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
That's middle table. Good chat.
Watch that slowly go down when we get more and more subscribers. More people join up. Yeah. But no, I didn't think it was too bad for a first run out. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I came 22nd, I think. So reasonably happy with that. Top 25. Want to make it into the top 10 next round if I can.
Yeah.
That'll be my objective. Sorry?
I mean, like the big key thing is sort of, and the way we've got it set up for sort of the cash prizes and everything else, top 25 is key. Anywhere in sort of top 25, you're getting more entries in, which means you're getting more chance to win cash. And although
I think
I would love my team to be at the top, and I'd love my team to be first and have way more fancy points than anybody else. But between that and £500 in my bank, I'd like to go off on next week's podcast about being better than everybody. Also, I'd like to have £500. So
yeah.
So 2 ways to win when you think about it. Even if you come stone cold dead last and win £500, you're still going to be happy. Even if you come first but you don't win the cash, you're still going to be happy because you come first. So yeah, there's loads of ways to win on our game.
Yeah. I think disclaimer, we have put something in place that
we can't
against our wishes. That we can't win, right? So unfortunately, Nye's never going to be sat there with an extra £500 in his bank.
Never. Which sucks. But if somebody were to say, oh, well done, you're going to put like 18 months of your life and God knows how many like tens of thousands of pounds into developing a game. Oh, by the way, you can't win. Oh, brilliant. So we're going to bring in cash prizes so everybody can play fancy rugby and win some cash here, but you can't. Thanks for doing it for everybody else, but yeah, I did not sign up to that, people.
And I was also fuming because Ollie Swick talked his way into a free pass for one of the owners' suites while he just bought a season pass. I've
got no chance of winning at all, but yeah, I put £30 in for my season pass. Devastated.
Just feign ignorance, mate. Feign ignorance.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, so I mean, looking forward to next week. Are you guys going to retain any of your players, or are you going to switch it up entirely?
I've been looking at it today actually, and it'll depend on team sheet, but there are some changes coming. I think there's some people getting dropped.
Yeah.
Some people haven't made the cut for Chris's Dream 15, I'm afraid.
I will have a pretty sort of like, so I will look at like the games, who's playing who, players. So I will have a pretty severe, I think that just off a glance, I think maybe two of my 15 still make it for next week. If they're going to start sort of Pepper on the bench, I think definitely I'd probably be looking at Super 7 if he's going to start. But yeah, I think maybe only 2-3 of mine make it into next week. And I guess that's a good thing about sort of having what is a weekly game. So even if now sort of like there's no, I can remove 2 players. It's like, you want a fresh 15, go for your fresh 15.
Yeah.
If you're regretting not picking that guy last week, this week, go pick him next week. I mean, chances are he'll have a shocker next week. But it's a brand new week. It's a brand new team, a brand new chance to win £500. So yeah, go change every single. I will have a pretty severe change.
I think I'm going to follow suit. What about you, Chris? Have you got any words of wisdom for whoever's listening? Who you're obviously it all depend on the team sheets, but have you got any kind of nuggets of wisdom or standout players?
So standouts, I'd expect. So look at the games and the styles of rugby that are about to be played. So I think Saracens, for example, go up against Sale, who are a big physical team. So is Tom Willis going to get the same amount of meters? Is he going to do the same kind of points against when he's up against Jean-Luc Duprea at number 8, as he would against a nimble-footed Zach Mercer, for example, or is but there are some consistent performers, right? So I'm a big fan of Ted Hill. I think so. If you guys, have you boys watched the episodes of Good Bad Rugby with Johnny May in it? Stuff with his commentary. Love his commentary, by the way. Top quality. If you haven't seen it, listeners, go out and watch him. He's hilarious. But he talks about Ted Hill, and he's like 6 foot odd, line out jumper, back row. But Johnny May refers to him as like he's got international wing pace. Like he's quick, which is a pretty nifty thing. And I think when last year we did a head-to-head post about him and Courtney Laws, and Laws had him on like the poaching stats in the Jackal, but Ted Hill had the line out stats. He steals more line outs than just about anyone else. So he's always a good shout.
Which if you don't already know, you get fancy points for in our game. There may be some other games out there in which you don't get fancy points for that. Boring. But in our game you do.
And another one that I just noticed is back, which I hadn't noticed, but he's back from injury, is Dino Lamb. Is Italian international, plays for Harlequins. Can play back row or lock, but he's listed as a back row. Sorry, he's listed as a lock on our game at the minute. We'll see how that goes, depending how many games he plays in that position. But anytime you get something like that, where you're getting a back row that you can pick a 4th back row effectively between him and Ernst van Rijn, you're doing all right. So there's some of my thoughts ahead of the weekend.
I think I'd be looking, and although I don't think Falklands did that bad, but yeah, like, I think
you rated their centre Arnold, didn't you? You thought he had a hell of a game.
Yeah, like the 12 actually. I think he put that sort of like massive hit on McGinty, but I think actually carried some really difficult short balls. Was their sort of get out of jail a few times. He had a stormer at sort of 12. But again, you look at this weekend, you look at the sort of some of the class that sort of Harlequins have got on show.
If they bring their first team, mate,
against Falcons, so it'd be interesting to see. But there might be some good value players.
Are they at the Stoop as well?
I think they are, mate. Yeah.
It's at the Stoop. Yeah.
Then you gotta back Harlequins as strong favourites. You know who I hope they start. This is a genuine top tip if you're up there. So watch out for the team sheet. If they start Cassius Cleves. Who came off the bench against Sale at like 77 minutes. And I really hate that when they do that, like 77 minutes. And I know why they do it, but it's just like, what do you expect him to do in 3 minutes? Like, what is it? Yeah. What is your plan of action for this kid?
I don't know. Mason Grady can lose a Wales game in 3 minutes. I'm a big fan of Wales. I'm not a big fan of Mason Grady. If you're new to the podcast.
We've got to have a little segment now.
Yeah,
from now on.
If you're new to the podcast,
you need to make sure you get Mason Grady into every single podcast from now on.
Yeah, I start a new TikTok video of things that are better than Mason Grady. Just like, rinse it.
But yeah, Cassius Cleves, 420 player, like scored quite a few worldy tries, like absolutely incredible tries, like Henry Arundel, the other ones that Henry Arundel gets posted all over for. Similar kind of stuff to that. And Cassius Cleves, if he makes his way and can kind of forge his way into that that starting lineup for Quins, expect big things for him. And he's 75 credits left in the game at the minute, so get him early.
Value, absolute value.
Yeah. Actually, there were some good games on this weekend as well. Saints Chiefs will be a good one.
Yeah, that'd be a really good one actually. Faye Bosa, slight home matchup. Who comes out on top?
Yeah, it's a nice little head-to-head that actually.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Because they both play like they're both physical, both quick, both nimble. It'll be really interesting to see how that pans out if they both start. Actually, I'm excited for that one.
Bath.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one. I think Bath picked that fairly comfortably. Like, if you want to stick
Tigers
to
at home, no. Tigers at Welford Road. Like,
yeah, I just think like that was a scrappy win from Tigers against Exeter. Like, I grant them that. Like, that was a gutsy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's enough to hold off Bath. Yeah. Like, some of the quality. Like, you look at their centre, like their entire 9 through. Yeah, like their entire
is
time.
that me about Ben Spencer? Anyone that's listened to season 1 of the podcast.
Yeah, their entire like 9, 10, 12, 13, all international, right? 2 Scots, 2 English players. You've got Joe Coconusing in there as well. You've got Will Muir in there as well. Like, there's some crazy level quality in that team.
They are a lot more settled as well, I think.
Like, that's pretty much the same team that played last season.
That 9, 10, 12, like, that's a very settled. That and that's key, right? That's centre park. That's your 2 controlling sort of 9, 10s, your 12s. You get out of jail.
Your props are the same. Your hookers the same.
They are
pretty much the same.
A very settled team. Tigers did look new.
They're looking tidy for the championship, I think, actually. But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, mind you, mate, the last 2 times they played, Bath and Tigers, Leicester have won. Most recently in December last year, 35-22. Oh, bloody hell, yeah.
And that's what Ollie brings to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go now.
Mic drop.
drop facts like he does. Yeah, no, it's been that was a good weekend. I'm looking forward to lots more rugby. Apart anybody else that's got kids, that when you spend like a weekend and you take like all day Saturday to go watch Gloucester, and you come back and they're like, what are you doing next weekend? I was like, I might go watch rugby again. And they're like, what, next weekend? I'm like, every weekend. Like 20 weeks to come.
This is the best bit about having a fantasy rugby game as a business is like now when my wife's like, what? Oh, do we have to watch the game? I'm like, darling, it's work. I'm like,
yeah.
I would love to.
I'd love to cook dinner. I'd love to cook dinner, but I just can't.
Yeah.
It's just work.
I'd love to go to that garden centre with you. I really would, but just rugby's on. I know, big things this week. Somebody did win £500 this week.
They did indeed.
Yeah.
Chris did it all. We had we had a great time. For the first time, we got to ring someone and tell them that they won £500 for playing fantasy rugby. So that was pretty cool. Chris, who did we ring, buddy?
We rung David from Rook Malls and Oval Balls with his team. Came in 22nd, like just ahead of me.
Yeah,
one ahead of me. He came.
Yeah.
22nd. So yeah, in that top 25. So those
makes
extra entries,
those extra entries, mate.
Definitely help them out some way. But yeah, so he is just paid for his yearly subscription and has got £470 to spend on beers and pies, and that's enough to even get you like a season ticket somewhere. It might be a cheap season ticket, but I'm just thinking you could spend that back on rugby. You could reinvest that money that you've got through rugby back into rugby. But yeah, that was genuinely pretty cool though, to just like hear someone like laugh, giggle, smile on the end of a phone. Because they won £500 just by playing a bit of fancy rugby. And that could be you. Sign up on the site now.
Dream15rugby.com.
I was going to say, are we sure we got the right person? Because David from Rock Smalls and Oval Balls doesn't sound like he'd laugh, quite smile and giggle on the phone.
You'd be surprised, mate. Like even big rugby people, you tell them they've won £500. If I was to ring you, Ollie, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to give you £500. You'd be pretty chuffed, mate.
I would be pretty chuffed, to be fair. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's never going to happen.
Unfortunately. But no, that was pretty cool. Actually getting to push out and watch people like win. I think we pushed it out on socials already, but like the top 10 in like the leaderboard, which is good to see. I'm a big fan of just fantasy league names, right? because some of them,
some of the
just,
stuff you see in there.
yeah, some of the stuff. And don't get me
Some-
wrong, we have, ladies and gentlemen, we have built into the site a mechanism for changing them if some of you do not keep it sort of PG.
We have a fairly liberal view of PG, though.
Yeah, we have like a rugby club
Yeah.
of what is PG.
Nothing
So, yeah,
deeply
so-
offensive, nothing. Yeah. But
Yeah.
other than that,
Yeah.
go well.
But yeah, it's pretty funny. I still, yeah, some of the team names do make me laugh. It's pretty good. Enjoyed it.
Mine's really boring. Mine's just Chris DXV, and then I saw like arseless chaps come up, and I was like, okay, I need to up my game a bit.
Yeah.
But just wait until we do get, a lot of people on the game, and people will be going through it like, it's the founder. When they see your team.
No one's
And people are ever that excited
scrolling
to
down
see me.
that far.
Yeah, no one's scrolling down that far. Yeah.
No one's scrolling down that far. Shocking.
Oh.
No, it's good
All right,
to.
so
It's good
week
to.
ahead then, boys.
Oh,
Yep.
should we smash them? Should we smash some predictions? We did that last week, didn't we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So we
Thursday.
got
Okay.
Put the kids up.
Here we go.
we got Bristol Gloucester guys first. I mean, I'll put my 2 cents in on it. It's got to be Bristol. I know I picked them to win the league, but yeah, I just think it's got to be them. I think Ibitoye had such a good game last week. Like, sorry.
Bristol have had a decent run in the league, actually, when I think about it. Like, that's a decent little, like, go in, like, Newcastle, then Gloucester, then...
Yeah.
Not saying to any Newcastle fans or any Gloucester fans that your teams are walkovers, but of the teams that are available, if you were to pick them, they're probably the ones. I'm not sure I'm digging myself out of the hole I put myself in, but...
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not a bad little run. I agree with you. Like Bristol bonus point win. I expect I think there's a lot of like clunkiness in that Bristol Newcastle game with like offloads not going to hand, little knock-ons, just things not clicking. If that Bristol team ever if they can get those things right, they're lethal. Like there's not a lot of stopping them.
Yeah, agreed. Gloucester didn't look fantastic. I mean, Bristol at Ashton Gate. Yeah, I'd be back Bristol for that one. I think
Bristol by 15.
Oof.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I'll probably go a little bit more actually. I'll go Bristol by 19 if I had to.
Yeah. Next game, Quins Falcons. I mean, both coming in. Yeah, but both coming off losses. It's at the Stoop. Quins have got a home advantage. Chris, you've already said you reckon Quins will take it earlier. Yeah, what are your thoughts score wise?
Quins. It'll depend what the coach says. So, I think that they're trying to put a bit of a steelier side to Quins. So I don't know if they go with the kind of entertaining style they've always had. But if they do, I think they'll put some serious points on. Either way, I think it'll be a win for Quins. Sorry, Newcastle. And I'd expect by at least 10 points. Because Newcastle, they've clearly put in some good work over the preseason. They've shored up their defense, which is the easiest way to turn a side around, right? So I'd say by potentially by 10. I think 10 is a comfortable margin.
Mm-hmm.
I'd sort of back that and look at Falcons, and there were some people saying that they sort of had some soft shoulders, but then look at the amount of turnovers Falcons got sort of within 10 meters of their own line. So they might have given up a bit of space going towards there, but they were soft, so they were ready to pounce, and actually they hit a lot of turnovers at key points of the game in the defence. I still think Quins will probably just have the calibre to sort of outgun them, I think, and not make those mistakes. So yeah, Quinn's again at the Stoop, and I'd probably say by more than Chris. I think sort of the last 15-20 minutes they'll run away with it. So I'm going to say by 20.
Yeah. And Saracens Sale. No, I'll go to you first, mate, because I know exactly what Chris is going to say here. But yeah, Sarries Sale at StoneX. What do you think?
StoneX, Sarries. I mean, neither look particularly. I don't say like comfortable. Like there were some little bits everywhere. It's going to be probably that, along with like Saints and stuff, a really close. I think it's going to be a really close game. I'm gonna say Sarries by 3. I think it's literally just going to take somebody. Somebody will just have to grip it by like the scruff of the neck, and just like it's going to be one of those games where somebody's just going to have to like drop goal it, right? Like you're getting nowhere, we're getting nowhere, we're going for the phases, you're going for the phase, and it's just going to take somebody 3 minutes out to just stand back, pocket it, and drop it and win by a few. So I think it'd be quite close. So I'm going to say Sarries by 3.
And Chris, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, my head says Sarries by a small margin just because they're at home, but I'm never going to do that. So
okay.
So
that's a DXV podcast first. Chris has not backed Sale. Welcome,
Sale by 3, but caveat, like I don't know if I'll be wrong. Fine, Sale by 3.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it'll be a close game either way. Like
well, either way it'll be close. Yeah.
Last week, just seeing like Ben Earl, Ezekwe, and Jamie George come off the bench at like whatever minute it was, and you're just
internationals,
like,
British, like 2 British and Irish Lions. What, like?
Yeah, I just crazy. It's nuts.
That's got to be so demoralizing. You're stood there, you're knackered, you're like, and then all of a sudden it's like subs and on runs. Like Six Nations player of the tournament, Jamie George, England captain, Maro Toje, like not Maro Toje, sorry. You're just like,
it's nuts. And then we got Saints, Chiefs at Saints at Franklin's Gardens. Who are we thinking there?
I'd peg that one to be the game of the weekend. I think actually that or Sale Sarries. I think that one might be the game of the weekend. That's going to be a night, something good to watch. I'm gonna back Chiefs.
Okay.
But again, by a really small margin, by like 2, because it's going to be. I think that might be a high-scoring game. I think that might be trading punches kind of throughout the game, trading tries, seeing where we can get who can rack up the biggest score. Because I think Saints have come out. Saints are gonna not like they ain't gonna be happy that they lost that game.
Yeah,
they will not be happy about that. And neither will Exeter in particular. Like the way they lost, that's gonna grate. And I don't think Rob Banks is going to take that kindly and take that lying down. So I think I'm fired up for that game. It's going to be a good one, I think, actually.
I'll absolutely say to Chris, I think if there's any game really that has potential to be sort of 30-40 points each, I think it's that one, both coming off the back of sort of frustrating, probably sort of like the losses, and both absolutely having the players to stick some width on it and actually play, and stick some. So I think it is an attacking game. It is going to be sort of end-to-end stuff. I do think Saints, when it comes down to the sort of crunch time, will lock it in and lock it out at home. So I am going to say them by 5. But I think it's that potentially is looking like an exciting game
to
watch.
Saints at home.
I think that changed it for me. I think I'd go Saints if they're at home.
Oh,
I think I'd go Saints.
It's locked in, mate. It's locked in.
Uh,
No, and then we've got
Last game.
no. I think it will be a really really close game actually as well. Yeah, it will be a good one to watch.
I think Saints are missing Mitchell. I think Mitchell
Yeah.
makes a huge difference to their team.
Yeah. And then we've got last but not least, and actually I think this will be we've got a really really good weekend of rugby actually. Leicester Bath.
Wow.
At Welford Road. Nye, what are you thinking for this one, mate?
I like Bath. That we've said sort of last weekend they look settled, right? They've got a 9, 10, 12, 13. They've got other players as a team. All of their key positions. They had a really strong season last year. Even though it is Welford Road, it's a nice stadium. It's a nice pitch. Having played there myself, yeah.
Well done stuff now. Well done stuff.
I'd still back. I think Bath for that one. If I'm honest, I don't think they had the strongest of outings. All right, they sort of won, but I think even at home,
I think they've got more to give.
Yeah, I'd still back Bath at this point. I think if we were maybe a couple of games in, it might make a difference. But I'll back Bath even if they're on the road. I think they look like probably one of the most settled teams in the Premiership after that first week.
Yeah,
so
I reckon.
I'm going to say Bath by 11.
Oh, okay. Chris.
I'm inclined to agree. I'd go Bath by something like 11, 12. I'll say 12 just to be different. I think Bath is definitely the team to beat this season. They're the ones, which it'd be interesting to see how they respond to that pressure, right? Like they're the ones that people are recognized. Like it's probably them. Saints won it last year, but they lost a lot of quality in Lewis Ludlam, Courtney Laws, the Waller brothers. Like there's quite a bit of change going on in that squad, and I think Bath, Bath by 12, I'd say.
Well, I think regardless of the scores, it'll be a cracking weekend of rugby. And yeah, everyone just needs to make sure that they, I think, sign up and then don't do a me and leave it to the last minute in selecting your team. But there are some good stats on the site already, right, that you can kind of like mull over and have a look at how players did last week to inform your decisions and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah. Cool. Well, I think unless you guys have any more to say, have you guys got any more segments that you want to go into, or?
I think that covers it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're good. But yeah, anybody that does listen to this and has listened through this much drivel so far, if you want there's stuff on a fancy podcast like this. If you want us to delve more into a certain aspect, you've got any good ideas, get us back on socials. Find us on Instagram, sort of Facebook, X, TikTok, anything like that. Slide into our DMs. If you've got any ideas, if you'd like to hear anything more about sort of fancy points about how we do this, how we built it, anything at all, just jump into our DMs and we'll start adding segments into this podcast.
Cool. Well, thanks very much for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week.